blessed Tuesday in Jesus' name. I pray that you are ready to get this day started, this week started. Good morning. Good morning. Blessings to you now and those of you in the replay. As you can see from our title, we are talking about eating too much. Eating too much. Someone in here ate too much. Hallelujah. They ate too much. This is going to be a series, you all. I'm not going to be able to finish it all right now, but I will be back on the rest of this week and possibly later on the day in order to finish it all. Well, we're going to be coming out of Genesis 3 and 6. Genesis 3 and 6, we're talking about the gluttony that started with Eve. Many of you all have New Year's resolutions, and everyone has those every single year. And it's always to eat less and lose weight. I hear that every single year. The same people, maybe a couple other people may join in. And usually it starts in January. And by February, statistics say by March, everybody has fallen off the wagon. They have started to eat those cupcakes, those sweets. They decided to just go and, I got to live and I got to die from something. So they decided just to go ahead and have themselves a good old time, comfort food, especially in this year, our third year dealing with this COVID. Then some people have just decided, you know what, I don't have the strength, energy, I don't have the strength, I don't have the willpower to stop eating this or that. Somebody ate too much. I want to talk to you about gluttony. Gluttony. The natural definition of gluttony is saying it's a habitual, greedy eating in excess. That's the natural definition of gluttony. And that applies to the natural food, your comfort foods, your chocolate, your things that you really just love, your favorite drink, you love soda pop, as you may say, and you love certain things that just really get you going. Maybe your thing is Mexican food, maybe it's lasagna or whatever you may like. It's just a comfort food to you. You like everything about it, and it has to be fixed a certain way. It can't be detoured different ways. It's just your comfort food. Maybe it makes you feel happy. Maybe it makes you feel, I don't know, like you are on top of the world, to eat a steak or to eat some seafood, makes you feel like you're rich. Whatever your comfort food is, then every year we say, oh, well, I'm going to give up this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to change, I'm going to not eat as much. Or maybe you started out saying, I'm going to not eat meat. I'm not going to eat carbs, no bread. There's just so much every single year. So I want to talk to you about this gluttony that we have, this gluttony that always seems to be there. I wanted to talk to you about it yesterday, but that wasn't happening because I had my grandbaby. As you can see, I had my little Mia, and so we did a worship with her, which didn't turn out well because she doesn't like to sit well at 1 years old. She likes to get up and get going. And so, anyway, we are here back to talk to you about gluttony. And let's go to the spiritual definition of gluttony. Spiritual definition of gluttony is the overindulgence or lack of self restraint or control in the food, the drinks, and wealthy items, especially used as a token. Those things you use will say, oh, well, this is what I want to give to someone. I may not want to have it for myself, but I'll give it to you as a token. They use this word, the Latin term for this word, gluttony, is gulp. You swallow. I ate too much. You was gulping. And when you get your favorite food, your favorite candy, sometimes it's hard to eat that thing slow. Some people, they want to indulge in the whole thing, and so they eat it especially so. But some of y'all just gulp. Y'all just rake it on in, turn up the plate, and just rake it on in, right? And that's called a gulp. In Latin terms, the gluttony is called a gulp. And sometimes you you barely swallow your food, and you start to burp and do these things, and you're like, you know what, I need to slow down. You start to just indulge in it. I mean, you're not thinking about nothing else but getting that food in your mouth. You look at it for a minute. Oh, you stand in line at the cash register, and those candy bars look so good. They know they're wrong for that. You in line waiting, so they figure while you wait, you can still be shopping. You already shopped some, but there's some crackers, there's some chips. My husband loves chips, any type of chips. Mainly, it's regular potato chips. He doesn't. He loves like Doritos, but he loves chips. We standing in line. We just got to get something. We're trying to restrain ourselves from that gluttony on this year. Get in line and we just put our hands on the cart. Okay, we're not getting nothing. It's a trick of the enemy, to get us by seeing it. You may not went to that aisle when you were shopping, but when you're standing in line, all that stuff is there. It just happens to be chips, candy, everything you think you want is there, and you're just full of gluttony. Your mind and the lust of your eye is just, this looks so good. Oh, I'll just eat. I'll get a king size, but I'll only eat half of it right now. Not so, you all. If you get a king size, majority of the time, you're going to eat it all, unless you have some serious restraints. One time I bought a bag of the miniature candy bars. Oh, I figured that would be good. I'll just get the miniature candy bars, and I'll just, get a little bit of those, and get those candy bars. Half of that bag was gone by the end of the day. So what was the point? No point at all. Do your eyes. So we're talking about Genesis 3 and 6. And Eve was the corporate of the lust of her eye. Eve saw that fruit. She saw that and it looked so good to her. Some say it was an apple, some say it was a fig, but the Bible really doesn't say what it was. To me, it could be chocolate. It could have been a chocolate tree. I don't know. You don't know what they have in heaven. But anyway, it could have been, But anyway, they are trying to get this food. She's looking at this food. And then she has a serpent, that's saying, oh, what are you doing? So it started with a thought. She had to be standing there and looking at it, right? She's looking at the candy bar like you're standing in line. She's looking like, oh, this looks so good. Good morning, good morning. God bless you. We're talking about the gluttony. We're talking about eating too much. And so we're talking about Eve. Eve was the corporate of this gluttony. In Genesis 3 and 6, we're talking about how Eve saw this fruit. She saw this chocolate because we don't know what it really was. And she just said, I got to have this. I really want this. And then the serpent didn't help any by telling her, well, God didn't really say all that. He didn't say you would surely die. A little bit of the truth, a little bit of a lie. And then she began to say, you know what? I'm going to try it. She forgot about what could happen. All she could see was through her eyes. You know how you see that Michael Kors, you see that favorite Guess pair of shoes, and you're like, you know what? I know I got bills to pay and rents due, but you know what? I just gotta have this. I'll find a way to make it up. I'll do extra hours at work. I'll find a way to get what I want. And that's what's called the gluttony. You're eating too much with your eyes. You haven't placed it in your mouth. You haven't touched it with your hand yet, but it started with the lust of your eye. You saw that thing and you just wanted to have it. You just had to have a piece of it, some of it, all of it. So when Eve saw this forbidden fruit, she said, but it looks so good. Surely God wants us to have, something that looks that good. Surely he doesn't mind. He wants us to have all things that are good. So when she did this one sin, when she grabbed this one fruit that she thought, beyond, what God has said, she didn't think about that. She just thought, okay, at this moment, you know how you're in the moment of so many things, in the moment of shopping, in the moment of sex, in the moment of this. But he looked so good. She looked so good. I just had to kiss her. One thing led to another. So Eve is like that. She's sitting there and she's sitting there thinking about it. And that's where the sin is. God said, think on pure things and lovely things. If you think about the wrong thing too long, you've already done it. You're almost saying you might as well have done it. So Eve is sitting there and she's thinking about all this stuff, the lust of the eye. And then when she got it, she touched it with her hand. So that could have been your wake up call when you touched something that you know wasn't right. You touched that man, you touched that woman, and you're like, oh, I know I'm married. I know I'm not married to her. I know that this is fornication. I know that I can bust hell wide open, or I just know that I can repent. We find out all the excuses or things to do what we want to do. But because Eve started with the gluttony of this fruit, this one sin, this one choice, this one decision to eat too much, to grab it, to hold it, to taste it, it caused her. And not only did it cost her, because you have to realize the decisions you make, the choices we make, don't just affect us, it affects everybody. So she tasted of this thing and it changed the whole race, it changed the whole world for one simple thing, for one bad decision. So we have to think about eating too much of certain things. Is this going to change the rest of my life? Is this one time I went on this trip, I knew I didn't have the money, and then when I got back, I was trying to catch up with the rent, catch up with the mortgage, and then you know how it is catching up. Sometimes you feel like you never catch up. That one decision, that one choice caused you to eat so much. But you have to realize that when the devil has us eat that one thing, we think, oh, it's just a little bit. But the God said the little leaven a lot. So you ate that one thing. You started a chain reaction. When you ate that one thing, it showed what was in your heart. When you ate that one thing, okay, we're talking about gluttony. So when you gulp and you gulp something, as the Latin word says, gluttony in the spiritual is glut. You're gulping. So you're gulping to the fact where basically that thing starts to consume you and you can't even swallow it. You're trying to chew it. And it's overtaking your whole mind, your heart, your soul, your physically, mentally, emotionally. It's taking over everything. So you what started with just a little bit started to just mature. It started to grow up. And then you're saying how good it was. It could be clothes, it could be shoes. You're just miserable because you ate too much. You know how it is when you're so full and you're like, wow, I should have stopped 2 pieces of cake long time ago. I should have stopped with the last piece. I shouldn't have kept going with that thing, but I did. I kept going, and then I realized that it's too late to pull it back. I realized that it's messing with my system. It's what messing with everything else I decided to choose. So I came this morning to tell you that gluttony, eating too much, self-control, we have the creation, the mind of Christ. So we have a choice of how much we eat. We have a choice at during this time that we don't have to have it all. We could have a little bit or a lot. But if you realize that just making one bad decision, eating just one more leg, eating one more candy bar, eating one more thing of the wrong thing is going to take you places you don't want to be, then we should learn to pull that thing back. So everybody has this thing about the new year. They're going to lose weight. They're going to exercise more. We're going to do all this. But what about the people of God? What about our spiritual gluttony that we have? The things that we realize we really don't need. And if we do indulge in those things, we're going to change our our culture. We're going to change our environment, our territory. We're going to change everything because everything we do, every choice we make, the decisions we make, it doesn't just affect us, me, myself, and I. It affects everybody. It affects everybody. So we have to realize, just like Eve, that if you decide to indulge in all of that, then you will have to reap the consequences. Who would have thought that eating one little piece of fruit would change the whole world and make everybody have to work more? everybody be born into sin because of this one fruit. So just think about it. That one thing, you have fornication, you thought, I'll just sleep with him and I won't do it no more because I just desire him right now. And then because of that one thing, you end up pregnant, you got STD. That one decision, you end up having HIV. You don't know what could happen when you make one bad decision to just eat more of lust of the eye, eat more of the things that are not of God. If we're eating more, we're not showing any kind of restraint. We're giving into our flesh. The spiritual things that in excess. So it's not that you took a little bit, it's that you kept going with that thing. Because once you taste of something, once you start doing adultery, once you taste of something like fornication, your body has been awakened to that thing. You've never ever fornicated, and then you start to fornicate. I'm here to tell you that it's not going to just settle down. Your mind is going to think about every single part and the process that you were eating on. His lips, his eyes, her lips, her eyes, her chest. You're going to think about every single part of that thing. If you eating too much and you're shopping, oh, that made me feel so good to be able to buy everything and not worry about the price of it. It made me so good to go out and buy my favorite clothes and shoes and not worry about the consequence. You may not be in that moment when you're at the cash register thinking about it, but as soon as you get in that car, your mind is already telling you, well, how are you going to pay back that $400 or $500 you spent on this purse you had to have with the matching Michael Kors shoes and with the jewelry, with the coach, whatever your thing is that you decide to let overtake you, then that thing is going to haunt you. It's going to torment you. It's going to torture you. So be wise and don't eat too much of the wrong things. Don't eat them. It's not that good. It was not that good of a time. That roll in the sack, it wasn't that good. No, it wasn't that good. For the things that happened afterwards, it wasn't worth it all. It wasn't worth it. So when you're eating your favorite foods, when you're buying your certain thing, when you decide you had to have that man, that woman, those clothes, when you had to have that car, that $700 a month, and you was already struggling to pay your rent, already struggling to do the things that you wanted to do, needed to do. You were already struggling to pay off this credit card, and then you go and buy a car. The Bible says God laughs at our calamity. You basically just got yourself intertwined and tangled in your own mess. In Ezekiel 16, it talks about how you are polluted in your own blood because of the choices we've made. It's interesting to me in Ezekiel 6:1, it talks about these are sins of greedy, being selfish, sins of the sisters in Sodom. These sisters were very selfish. They were arrogant. They were overfed. And you think of overfed like a baby that's overfed, a child that had too much to eat, or overfed, like my son. He used to crack me up. My 1-year-old son, he's 7 years old now. When he was one, he would bring him over here to over my house, and if he would feed him or bring something for him to eat, this is what he bought you off for a 1-year-old child: a 4-piece chicken nugget and a cheeseburger. Now, I don't know how a 1-year-old could eat all that. When I first saw it, I thought to myself, is he going to eat all that? I'm like, did you bring this for someone else? He cut the cheeseburger in fours, and then he gave the chicken nuggets. That 1-year-old, he sat there and he did not move until every single bite was gone. Out of curiosity, I sat there and I said, surely he's not going to eat all that. He ate one nugget, he ate two, then he took a piece of the burger. This was a routine thing to him, gluttony. This is a choice that he was overfed. And some of us overfed with cars, with materialistic things, even our emotions. You're used to getting attention. You're used to being selfish. You're used to not having to share with anyone. Those are eating things too much that you don't need. You ate too much when you were growing up. You was the only child, maybe you were the youngest child, and they always gave you the more. And nevertheless, I've seen parents not eat as much just so the children can have the more. Not some, but the more. You're being overfed. You're arrogant. They're selfish when they decide to just give the more. Every time they go to the store, how much can I get? It's not about getting some, but it's how much you're gulping over things that are causing you to overindulge, to choke. When you go and buy 12 dresses, you could have got 5. When you go and buy 6 purses, you could have got 3. But you're overindulging in those things. And God is saying you're overfed, you're selfish. But yet still, you see someone who needs something and you don't think about giving them one of the purses. I don't have to have 12 of those purses. I don't have to have 6 of those. I could deal with 3. You see someone with a raggedy purse, maybe it's dirty. And what do? You start talking about it. That's selfish. That's not right. It's not the mind of Christ. And then you say, okay, well, they're poor, they're needy, they should have made better choices. But what about you? Just because they're poor and needy doesn't mean that their choices caused that thing. You think, and you've already planned their whole life out. You sit there and you think about all of what happened as to why they are poor. I can say the same thing about why do you have so much? And why do you think it's okay? We are blessed to be a blessing. Stop eating so much. Stop talking so much. Stop thinking so much about all these things that you want to have. I want this car. I want this house. Not any old car and house. It has to be a certain caliber, a certain type. It has to fit in my circle. This is your New Year's resolution. Stop eating so much of the wrong things. Stop indulging so much of the wrong things. Stop making the wrong decisions. Stop choosing everything instead of some things. It's not the fact that you made this choice all the time and it's wrong, but sometimes you make this choice and it's overindulging. Why do you have to have 12 Michael Kors purses? Why do you have to have 12 guests? Why do you have to have somebody say, this is a new thing now? That's my business. No, that's God's business because God has something else for you to do with that money. You're blessed to be a blessing. How could you help somebody else that you see is so poor when you don't understand where they came from, how they had to grow up? They may have not had any parents. They may have not had anything to do. And they have made some choices to do right things. But it seems like they made the wrong choices to you because they don't have as much money as you. Maybe all your money came from your parents. May all your money came from somebody who left you some money, your uncle, aunt, I don't know. But you can't sit there and judge somebody else because they don't have as much as you have. They may have enough, but you could help them with the more, the less. It just boggles my mind when I see people always willing to put their mouth on other people as to the reason why they've eaten so much and then they think they can't eat because they're too poor and needy. You sit there with all of this and you see your own brothers and your sisters, because it's not just strangers. Sometimes you see your brother and sister, your mother and your father, you see them suffering. You see them in agony trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, trying to take their last, their bosom money, and you sit there and say, well, no, they don't need all this. That's okay. Somebody else will give it to them. Oh, well, that's my money for my surgery, for my breast reduction, or to enlarge the backside. It's frivolous stuff. They're trying to find a way to feed their children. They're trying to find a way to pay rent. And you sitting over there having all this money, greedy, in excess, overfed. You're eating Too much of the wrong things. Too much of it. It's okay to go by and splurge a little bit, but you always go above and beyond. God has given us self control. He has given us restraints, but are we using them? Somebody keep the seatbelt off. You need to put your seatbelt back on and use some restraints. You need to just say, you know what? I'm going to go in the store. I'm going to look and keep my hands in my pockets. There's too much going on in these last and evil days for you just assume that making the wrong choices and eating too much is okay. The feeling afterwards, what do they call it? The hangovers from drinking too much. I've never been drunk or anything, but they tell me about the hangovers being so horrible, about them feeling like they're so sick, and because you drunk too much of the wrong things. You ate too much of the wrong things. You're glutting, you're gulping. It's just greed and selfish and arrogant, unconcerned about anything. And you see someone that's kicking in their blood, and they're trying to make it. And God has to come by, as it talks about in Ezekiel 16 and 14. He's just kicking in his own blood, trying to live. And he says, hey, I see you. He said, I say live. I say grow up. I say let your hair grow. I say mature. You haven't had enough to mature, but God says, I'm going to give it to you. I want you to be intentional in this year when you go buy things, when you feel like you just have to have this or that you decide, Lord, is there someone else that might need this and benefit more from this? I'm thinking about the alabaster box, Mary Magdalene, when she chose to go and wash God's feet with his perfume, and the people was of God were so upset. They said this perfume she's using to wash God's feet could have been used and sold for money for the poor. And God said, the poor you have with me, all you have with you always. But she's getting ready for my burial. They had no idea, nor did they listen. Just gluttony. She says, I'm not going to use this perfume. She could have used it for her own self because she had plenty of reasons to use it. But she chose to wash God's feet with this perfume instead of being gluttony like some of us, instead of being greedy. She goes, oh, I'm going to take this perfume and I'm going to go walk around and let everybody smell me. I'm going to go and find these people these men that I thought that I couldn't have, and let them smell how I smell the perfume of sin. And then you have to deal with the choice that you make because you attracted the wrong people by your gluttony and overeating and greed. You just gulping down the wrong things. You're attracting buzzards. You're attracting bees. You're attracting all kinds of what do they call those things? Those hawks, though, not the eagles, but you know what I'm talking about. Not the crows, but you're attracting those. You're attracting those things that are not of God. And then you're wondering, how did he come? Why did she come to me? Because she saw the dead things on you. He saw the dead things that were on you, the things that shouldn't be on there. They only come after dead things, things that are already gone, things that are already dead, and you don't even know it. You're attracting the wrong things. You're sitting in a restaurant and you're eating all this food. You're eating too much. All this seafood. I want not 5 pounds, 6 pounds. I want 6 pounds of snow crab leg, lobster, and all of this. It could be food. It could be money. It could be sin. God said gluttony is a sin. What Eve did was a sin. She saw the lust of the eye. And some of us have the pride of life and we're just going after it. We're just going head first after it. I stopped by to tell you, you don't need all that food. You're eating too much. You have eaten too much. Now you're sitting back full, can't move, your bowels are jacked up. You don't know which way to go because you're so tired, you're wore out. And then that's when the enemy comes in. The enemy came to Philip when he was tired. And he's coming to you because you're all wore out, you're tired. You don't wore yourself out shopping, looking for stuff. hanging out at the place where you think all the ritzy people are. And then you wonder why you can't be about God's business. God was why you was gluttony and eating all that stuff and carrying all that stuff. God was speaking to you and he was telling you to give. He was telling you to help someone, but you couldn't hear them because you were tired, because you were so full. It's hard to concentrate. Go to lunch at work and eat up a bunch of heavy food, lasagna and pork chops and greens. And when you come back, see how productive you are. See how much you want to do things. You're ready for the bed. You need to go walk around and exercise, but instead you go and sit. You go and lay down because you're eating too much. Eating too much does not feel good, you all. Eating too much is not helping you. You're tearing down the walls of your stomach. You're tearing down your heart, your mind, and your soul. Because now that you fed that hunger, that thirst, you've awakened something. You've awakened this spirit. And this spirit demands to be fed. What is your palate demanding to taste of? What is it that you put inside your mind that's demanding to be fed? What greed, what sin of greed did you pick up? What sin of selfishness have we picked up? What sin have we picked up that's caused us to be overfed, arrogant, unconcerned about others? We're not helping the needy and the poor, only about ourselves. It's time for us to change. It's time for us to ask for help. When that poor person was there, you may have been entertaining an angel unaware. You don't know where that poor person came from. They may even be some kin to you. I heard a lady tell me one time that I saw this lady on the corner, always had this sign. And then somebody told me, I was talking to them about them, how they're always there. And I was talking about how the clothes look all this and that. And then the person told me, did you know that that's your cousin? And they said, what? They said, that's your own family. That was your own family. And you was talking about them, not helping them. And you had plenty. You rolled by in your BMW Infiniti, your Mercedes Benz, and had plenty of money in there for your gas, and you decided, oh, I'm not going to help her. She's probably a prostitute. She probably is a drunk. She's probably a druggie. God didn't say to give and ask what she probably is or he probably is. He just said to give. He didn't ask for your 2 cent thoughts. He didn't ask for you to analyze or come up with a story, a make-believe story. He didn't ask for you to assume that that's what they're dealing with. But this was your own family and friends. Nobody showed pity on them. Nobody helped them. They threw them out the family. They just threw them out in the field. And God saw them kicking. He saw them struggling. He saw them suffering. And the people of God just walked by. He saw them polluted in their own blood. Like you have been before. You weren't always rich. Somebody said, well, maybe I always had something, but you weren't always as rich as you are now. You didn't always have food on the table. You didn't always have a Mercedes Benz. But you see someone that's polluted in their own blood. They don't have a car. They don't even have the proper shoes to be out there walking. Instead of you saying, let's go over here to Skechers. Let's go over here and look and see if I can help you. Instead of you saying, here's $100, go get you some shoes and some clean clothes because you said they was dirty, but you didn't offer to take them nowhere to go get a shower. You could have said, here, I'm going to take you to this hotel and let you stay for a while. I'm going to pay for it all. Let you stay in the hospital. They stay in this hotel and room service. I'm going to give you a allotment. And say you can spend as much as you want in these 3 days. You can get cleaned up and you can rest peacefully. Yes, people do that. People do that for others, especially their families. God said, I saw you. He saw you when you were polluted in your blood, with your mess of things, when you were eating too much of the wrong things. You was out there fornicating. And if it wasn't for somebody praying for you, somebody taking you by the hand and saying, let me help you, brother or sister, then you would still be out there. You forgot about that. You forgot about how somebody helped you out of your blood, helped you out of your muck and mire. They didn't judge you. They just said, come on. I know you've had a rough life. I know this wasn't fair. They said, let me just help you. And you say, no, I know you have this and that. He said, no, I'm going to help you. So you might as well just give in. How many times have we turned down help out of greed and selfishness? Yes, that's a different type, but you still being prideful. We're eating too much. It looks good, but later on, it's not going to feel good. Later on, when the dust settles, when everything has settled down, you're going to realize that it was too much, that you didn't need all that you should have just stopped. When you are in gluttony and you're eating and everything's just tasting so good, feeling so good with that man or that woman, just feeling like you just on top of the world, like this is not going to end. And then you get up and he says, you want me to call you a Lyft? You want me to call you a Uber? And you thinking, oh, well, he's surely going to love me now because I've given up this. She's surely going to love me now because I've given. No, I didn't tell you I was married, but I am. I'm going to have to let you go. When are you going to call me? I don't know. When are you going to take me? I don't have a way. I said I'll call you a Lyft. Okay. Then you realize reality takes control and wakes you up and hits you hard, about knocks you off of your feet. I've given all of this. And then you find out that it was for naught, that it was all in vain. I stopped by to tell you, stop eating of the wrong things. This has been Evangelist Regina with Kingdom Power Ministries. And I'll be coming back with you maybe later on if I can get a chance to. But that's definitely, this is going to be a series. I have so much to teach on this. So I will be back on tomorrow talking about the other parts of this gluttony and how we can help, what we can do so we don't fall into the devil's trap. Because the enemy's coming in like a flood. He's coming. On the right, the left, he is coming. But I need you to be aware. I need you to have a plan that when he comes knocking on your door, when he comes sitting there in your face, that he doesn't look as good to you as you thought. Oh, you know what? You are beaten. You're worn out. You're tattered. Your mustache ain't shaped up, lined up. You got a little bit more weight in the midsection. You smell like you want to be alone. So it's not so tempting to you. I want to talk about that thing. How things are not as tempting as you thought. Oh, you have an apartment? No, he lives with his mom. And you want to roll in the sack with him? He's living with his mama. Don't tempt yourself. Don't eat too much of the wrong things because of your eyes. He's got a 6-pack. You think it's really a 2-pack. He just got it tucked in a little bit. You're thinking that his hair looks all nice and everything. You thinking everything about her looks good. Everything she got on is fake. It ain't really hers. She's like that woman on what is it? I'm gonna get you sucker. She started taking off this, taking off that. She started taking off everything, and when she's left, she ain't got but one leg. Her hair ain't there. Her eyelashes ain't there. Oh, that was funny to me. That's how life is, and that's what happens when we fool around and roll in the sacks with the devil. Stop eating all that. You don't need all that. You are not that hungry. This is Evangelist Regina with Kingdom Powers Ministries. Come back and see me on tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you all now for watching, and thank you all in the replay. Have a blessed day.